Hey everyone, my name is Kayla and welcome back to another episode of the Hi-Fi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. This month we are diving into the truth for preschool, God has a plan for me, and for kids, I am designed for a purpose. We have loved getting to walk with you along this month as we look at the life of Joseph and all the ways that God had a plan for Joseph and his life and the ways that we see God interact and intercede for his people. So this week, we are going to be talking about how we can look up. Our main idea is I can look up, and we're going to be looking at the dreams that Joseph interpreted from Genesis 39 to 41. But before we get there, we have some amazing fun questions just to get us started. So I have Rachel and Crystal from our Hi-Fi team here with me today. And one of the questions that I have for you guys is, what's one or two things that you kind of hope to see in your life 10 years down the road from now? So as you're looking ahead and looking forward to what's coming down the road, what are some things that you think, you might just hope to see, or what you might like to happen in the next 10 years of life?
Well, I would say one thing is that I've been on this long education journey, so I would love to see it come to a close. And then my husband's next to work on his PhD. And so I hope that 10 years down the road, we can both say we're finished and kind of close that chapter of, learning in a classroom setting. And then a second thing, I don't know, honestly, I feel like if I were to look back on my life 10 years in the past, I am in a completely different place than I would have ever dreamed or ever thought or imagined for myself. But I know it's so much better than I could have planned. So I would say my other plan for the next 10 years is just to hold everything loosely, because no matter what I plan, the Lord's plan will be better.
That's awesome.
What a great answer.
Mm-hmm.
Listeners, in case you didn't know, Rachel and her husband are really, 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 really smart. So we love smart people. We love getting to hang around smart people. So we are cheering you on, Rachel, in your education journey, and just all of the work that you're doing in that. It's incredible. Crystal, what about you? What are you hoping to see in the next 10 years?
I feel like I should have gone first because my answers are way less deep.
Listen,
and
mine are
everything.
too. So I need you to bring us back down to the normal level over here.
Well, yeah. Crystal, I turned 40 on Saturday, so I've been having more philosophical thought about future and past. So you just caught me in a decade change.
Okay. Well,
congratulations.
Yes, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, in 10 years, I'm going to be in my mid-50s, which seems insane. I will be an empty nester. I'm not going to have any kids at home, which is also crazy. And so what I hope to see in my life 10 years down the road is an annual girls trip with different friends going to different places that. Hopefully I won't be spending any money on my children and I can use it all on myself. Listeners, I am being totally real and authentic right now. I am genuinely looking forward to when I feel like I can selfishly spend all of my money on myself and not sports registration and gazillions of groceries for these giant boys in my house. And so, that is the big thing that I think of 10 years down the road, is being an empty nester. I'm a single woman, and I just want to be going on the most incredible trips that would make people jealous when they look at them and be like, I wish I had Crystal's amazing carefree life. So, well, that's what I'm hoping to get to.
That is incredible. I love that so much. And also, listeners, if you have recommendations of places for Crystal to go on all of her vacations, feel free to drop her a line. Let her know. Where should she go?
Nowhere cold, though. I don't want to go anywhere cold. So it's gotta be warm.
Only tropics. That's hilarious. I love it. Okay, really quick. So for myself, I would say 10 years down the road, goodness, who knows? I am in a season of change and transition as well. In just a few months, I will be getting married, which I'm super excited about. And also, I'm hoping that both of our parents who live far away and have lived far away from us for all of our adult lives, they're in a season of retirement. And so I'm excited and hopeful of in the next 10 years what that could look like as maybe they get to move a little bit closer and just enjoying a little bit more family time. And also very selfishly and practically, I have a sweet car that is called Old Faithful. And I have had this car since 2008, my friends. And I am really hoping in the next 10 years, there is a new car in my future. Maybe one that has a camera on it or not a CD compact disc, 6-changer for me. So that's, dreams. Maybe.
It.
We'll see.
I love it.
Well, listeners, hopefully you have thought of some things as well of what you would like to see in the next 10 years of your life. Maybe it is inspirational and incredible things in your ministry. Or maybe it's like, me and you want a new car or a vacation that you really want to travel on. But one of the things that we know, kind of like what Rachel was saying, is that God has incredible plans and purposes for our life. And there are different seasons of our life that we get to experience the goodness of God in different moments and in different ways. Even though we don't know the whole picture, right? And so this week we're going to be talking about another season of Joseph's life where he was in prison, wrongfully accused, thrown into prison, and had been there for a while. But one thing that we know about this story is that there's a lot of hardship that is happening, but we also have a little glimpse of some encouragement. And so, Crystal, as our resident galvanizer, encourager, talk to us a little bit. How can this Bible story give encouragement to someone who is really struggling to trust God's plan for their life right now and the timing and the purpose? Maybe they're walking in ministry with a child who's just really going through it right now. Where do we see encouragement in this Bible story, and how does this give us hope?
There are a lot of what we would say terrible things that happen in Joseph's life leading up to this week's Bible story, right? Like he begins his story having these amazing dreams from God. And rather than his family appreciating and celebrating that, his brothers sell him into slavery and tell their dad that he's dead. And then he is in Potiphar's house and he is doing the right thing. He's working really hard. He's rising up the ranks. And then Potiphar's wife tells a lie about him and he gets thrown into prison. And so he's in prison and he's working hard again. And he ends up interpreting the dreams of two people in the prison and he's forgotten about. And it just seems like story after story after story. When it seems like Joseph is being very faithful, it doesn't seem like the reward is worth it. And first off, I think that is a great thing for preschoolers and kids to recognize that following God, and I said this in another podcast, following God does not guarantee a great and easy life at all. God doesn't owe us anything. We are called to faithfulness, and that's what we see in Joseph's life. With all of these hard things that happen, Joseph continues to be faithful, continues to follow the Lord. And while reward is not guaranteed, we actually do get to see Joseph, things finally turn around for him this week. And so Pharaoh has these two crazy dreams. They're very, very similar. One involving cows, one involving grain. In both of them, there are 7 really healthy cows in one and really healthy grain growing up in the other dream, and then 7 really sickly cows in the cow dream and 7 really sickly grains start to come up in the other dream, and the sick ones destroy the healthy ones. And so he has this dream. He's really disturbed. He's wondering what can happen. And one of the people that Joseph interpreted his dream in prison is able to come and say, I know somebody who can interpret your dream. Now, let's be honest. This is Joseph's time to shine, right? He gets called in front of Pharaoh. He probably gets his first shower and hair trim in a really long time. And Pharaoh says, I've heard that you can interpret these dreams. I feel like it would be totally understandable for Joseph to say, you know what, I can. Like, I've been doing great things my whole life and nobody recognizes it and bad things keep happening. But we don't see that. Joseph, in that moment, says, I can't do that, but God can. God can work through me. God can give me the wisdom. So even in a moment when Joseph could have taken all the praise and glory, he gives it to God, which is such a great reminder for us as we talk about the main idea this week. I can look up. When we need help, when we need to know what's going on, when these opportunities come before us, no matter what we feel like our own skills and abilities are, they are opportunities for us to look up, to trust God, to listen to him, to follow him, and to know that he is the one that deserves the glory and he is the one that deserves the praise. And so God ends up helping Joseph interpret these dreams. And as a result, Joseph is risen up to a place of prominence within Egypt, second only to Pharaoh. And that is so incredible. Like, who wouldn't want that to happen? You know, like I said, it feels like all of Joseph's faithfulness is finally being rewarded. However, we saw that reward already in that moment when he gave God glory. And so the big takeaway for preschoolers and kids this week is not just that this great stuff finally happened to Joseph, but as we faithfully follow God, we can look up. We can look up and listen to him. We can look up and follow him no matter what. And we can look up and give him the praise and glory when good things happen in our lives.
That's awesome. Thank you, Crystal. We're talking about how Pharaoh, after Joseph interprets these dreams of Pharaoh, then it's Pharaoh who actually is able to say, is there anyone we can find in all of Egypt with God's spirit in him like this man Joseph? And so as we talk about this Bible story this week, we're really focusing in on the part where, you know, Pharaoh has these dreams and he's asking for interpretation. No one's coming through to know what's going on. And then it's the guy that he was in prison with that says, oh, there was a guy who interpreted my dream when I was in prison and it came true. And so we see moment by moment, just these different times in Joseph's life that there's something that happens that we may not understand in the moment. It doesn't make sense to us, but God uses it and he leads us to get to a place of understanding how he is working through Joseph in his life to bring about what is needed. So there's so much hope in this Bible story where we really are able to see some pieces start to click together and some moments where there is some encouragement to see God's plan is coming. Something is happening. We don't always know what it is or how, but we know God's plan is best, his timing and his purpose is best. All right, Rachel, I'm going to switch over to you. So how does this story connect us to the gospel? Like, we see a lot of Joseph in the story, and we see things happening where he's interpreting dreams and we're seeing God get credit for certain things. But how does this connect us to Jesus?
Yeah, it's a great question. Because like you said, we see Joseph trusting God, following God, even through suffering when he thinks, what is going to happen? Because he doesn't know, but he trusts God and continues trusting him because it's part of God's plan. And so it reminds me of John 16:33 when Jesus says, I've told you these things so that you may have peace. You will have suffering in this world, but be courageous because I've overcome the world. And I think that's such a great bridge into the gospel because we see that Jesus trusted God and he came to earth and he suffered and he rose again because it was all part of God's plan. And so we know that Jesus suffered and rose again so that we could be forgiven of our wrong choices and that we could have a friendship with God. And it's so powerful because I think it also gives light in that idea of John 16:33 of that we can be following Jesus We can be part of God's plan right in the center of everything. And we know from scripture through seeing Joseph's life, and even more so through seeing Jesus's life, that there is suffering in this world. But we do
Mm,
not have to worry because we have this just incredible example of Jesus overcoming that suffering for our sake so we could be forgiven and know God. And so I think it's a really beautiful picture of the gospel as we think about suffering and knowing God.
mm,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we had talked about in a previous week where we're not promised that
mm-hmm,
our life will not have suffering in it. But as we look at the life of Joseph, we see his consistent faith and trust in the Lord. He didn't know what, like, early on in his life, those dreams that he had with his brothers, and how that would come to fruition, but he trusted God. And then there were a lot of curveballs thrown in Joseph's
mm-hmm.
life. But had he not been sold to slavery, he wouldn't have gotten to Egypt. If he didn't get to Egypt, he couldn't have, been connected to Potiphar. That landed him in jail for being wrongfully accused. But through there were interpretations of dreams that led to the interpretation of the dreams of Pharaoh. And whenever Joseph was able to say, "It's not me, it's God. God did this for you, Pharaoh." And to just
Mm,
continually point back to just who God is and how he is working, and the full story is, God is doing all of this for the redemption of his people.
mm-hmm,
And what a cool connection that we can make to the redemption that God sent for us through Jesus,
mm-hmm,
and the hardship that Jesus endured, the cross, and just the suffering that he endured. And through all of that, it was to bring about redemption.
mm-hmm.
So that's such a cool connection there. All right, last question, really quick, you guys. What helps you look up and trust God? We talk a lot about theory and philosophical things, but let's get practical for a minute, and let's just be real, because that's what we do on our
Mm-hmm.
podcast. What are some things that really just help you whenever maybe you're struggling to look up and trust God in the moment?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? How do you trust the Lord? What are some things that could just maybe encourage a leader listening today as we're walking through the trenches of ministry together, and just need some encouragement?
I know a big thing for me has been changing a little bit the way that I pray. Um, when I'm in a situation or circumstance that I am not enjoying, rather than asking God to just change it, I say, Lord, help me to see what you're doing. Help me to trust you. Help me to faithfully follow you no matter what. I definitely say I don't like this. And if there is a way for it to be changed, that would be great. But regardless of what happens, help me to keep my eyes on you. Help me to be faithful. Help me to see what you're doing. Because a lot of times, again, we can a little bit treat God as like, I want you to make things the way that I want them to be. And instead, I want to say, Lord, I want you to make me who you want me to be. And so, whatever that looks like in this season. And so, a lot of that has sort of been changing my attitude when I pray, to change less for change around me and more for change within me.
That's
So
awesome.
good.
Thanks for sharing, Crystal.
I would say that is an incredible example, Crystal. And the only thing I would add is there is a quote that I tell myself all the time when things are hard. And I think I've even quoted it on the podcast before, but it's one of my favorites. And it's from Elizabeth Elliot in her book, Keep a Quiet Heart. And she says, "The secret is Christ in me, not me in a different set of circumstances."
Mm,
And it's just one I just continually remind myself whenever I'm in hardship or struggle, just remembering that that's it. That's the core of it, is the secret is Jesus working in me. And so
mm-hmm.
it's a good reminder for me.
That's incredible. Thank you, Rachel. And listeners, as we go, I hope you hear that it is the Lord working in you.
Mm-hmm.
God is with you. He is working in you in the ministry that you are at. He has planted you exactly where you are in the
Mm-hmm.
season that you are in for the purpose to honor and bring him glory. There will definitely be things in your ministry that you will never see the fruit of on this side of heaven, but the Lord knows what he is doing and how he is working through you to bring about his plans and his purposes. So thank you for the work that you do, for the ways that you love and serve children and preschoolers and families. And we're just grateful for you. So thank you for joining us today on our podcast. We really hope this time is encouraging and inspiring for you as a leader as you continue to build real connection and true belonging in the ministries that you lead.